Have you ever stood in front of something that felt far too big for you? A problem you couldn't solve, a battle you didn't ask for, a fear that kept shouting your name every morning. Maybe everyone around you tells you, be realistic, you can't win this. And perhaps deep inside, you've started believing them. But there was once a young shepherd boy who stood in exactly that kind of moment. He had no armor, no sword, no army behind him, and standing across the battlefield was a warrior so terrifying that an entire nation was afraid to face him. His name was Goliath, and the boy's name was David. But David discovered something that day that every frightened heart needs to remember. The size of your enemy does not determine the size of your God. The armies of Israel had gathered for battle against the Philistines. On one side stood the army of Israel. On the other stood the Philistine army, and between them was a valley. For 40 days, a giant walked out from the Philistine camp every morning and every evening. His name was Goliath. He was enormous. His armor covered his body. His helmet shone beneath the sunlight. His spear was massive, and his voice carried across the entire valley. He mocked the Israelites. He challenged them. He said, in essence, choose someone to fight me. But no one moved. The soldiers looked at him, then looked at one another, and fear took hold of them. Day after day, the same thing happened. Goliath shouted. Israel trembled, and the battlefield remained silent. But far away from the battlefield, there was a young shepherd boy named David. David wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't even there to fight. His father had simply sent him to take food to his older brothers who were serving in Saul's army. David arrived at the camp and heard the giant. David listened as Goliath shouted his challenge. And David noticed something strange. Everyone was talking about how big Goliath was, but David began talking about how great God was. He couldn't understand why everyone was so afraid. He asked, "Who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The soldiers around him probably thought he was foolish. His own brother became angry with him. "Why did you come here? You should be taking care of those few sheep." David could have walked away. He could have listened to the criticism. He could have told himself, maybe they're right, I'm only a shepherd. But David remembered something. He remembered the God who had been with him in the quiet fields. He remembered the lions. He remembered the bears. He remembered every night he had stood beneath the stars watching over his father's sheep. And he knew this. The God who had protected him in the secret place was still the same God in the battlefield. Eventually, David's words reached King Saul. Saul called for him, and David told the king, "Let no one's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight this Philistine." Saul looked at David, a shepherd boy, and then he looked toward Goliath. It seemed impossible, but David wasn't trusting his own strength. He was trusting God. Saul tried to prepare David for battle. He gave him armor, a helmet, a sword, protection fit for a soldier. But David couldn't move comfortably in it. It wasn't his way, so he took it off. Instead, David went down toward the stream, and he chose 5 smooth stones. He placed them in his shepherd's bag. Then he took his sling and walked toward the giant. Imagine that scene, an entire army watching, thousands of soldiers standing behind him, and one young shepherd walking forward. Goliath saw him and laughed. He couldn't believe what was happening. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" He mocked David. He cursed him. He threatened him. But David didn't answer with fear. He answered with faith. David said, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." And then David said something that changed everything. He told Goliath that the battle belonged to the Lord. David wasn't pretending Goliath was small. He knew exactly how dangerous the giant was. But David also knew something else. God was bigger. Goliath began moving toward David. The ground seemed to shake beneath his feet. His armor made a heavy sound as he approached. The soldiers watched. No one breathed. David reached into his shepherd's bag. He took one stone, placed it into his sling, and began to swing it. Once, twice, faster, faster, and then he released it. The stone flew through the air, straight toward the giant, and struck Goliath in the forehead. The giant fell, face first, into the ground. The battlefield went silent. The giant who had terrified an entire army was down. David ran forward. He took Goliath's sword, and the battle turned. The Philistines fled. The Israelites pursued them, and the army that had spent 40 days hiding in fear suddenly found courage, all because one shepherd boy believed what everyone else had forgotten. God was still with them. But David and Goliath is more than a story about a boy defeating a giant. It is a story about what happens when fear becomes louder than faith. Goliath had been shouting for 40 days. 40 days of intimidation. 40 days of fear. 40 days of making an entire army believe that their situation was impossible. And sometimes life feels exactly like that. The same problem keeps shouting. The same fear keeps returning. The same voice tells you, you're not strong enough. You're not good enough. You'll never get through this. This is too big. And after hearing it long enough, you begin to believe it. But David didn't allow Goliath's voice to become louder than God's promises. He remembered who God was, and that changed the way he saw the battlefield. The giant didn't become smaller. David's vision of God became bigger. Maybe your Goliath doesn't look like a warrior. Maybe it's a financial burden, a broken relationship, a dream that seems impossible, a season of loneliness, a door that refuses to open, a future you cannot understand. Maybe you're facing something right now that makes you feel completely powerless, and perhaps you've been standing at the edge of your own valley, watching your giant shout. But remember David, he didn't wait until he felt powerful. He stepped forward while he was still a shepherd. He didn't wait until everyone believed in him. He moved forward when everyone doubted him. And he didn't win because he was stronger than Goliath. He won because he trusted the one who was stronger than Goliath. Sometimes faith isn't the absence of fear. Sometimes faith is simply taking one step forward while fear is still screaming behind you. David had one stone, but he had something more important. He knew whose name he carried into the battle. Notice something beautiful about David. Before he fought Goliath publicly, he had already been faithful privately. He had spent years caring for sheep. Nobody was applauding him. Nobody was celebrating him. There were no crowds, no battlefield, no spotlight. Just David, his sheep, his harp, and God. The secret place prepared him for the public battle. The battles nobody saw prepared him for the battle everybody would remember. And perhaps that's where you are right now. Maybe your life feels hidden. Maybe nobody sees how hard you're trying. Maybe nobody knows how many times you've had to get back up. But don't despise the quiet season. God can use hidden seasons to prepare you for visible victories. The valley may be coming, but God can prepare you in the pasture. So when your giant stands before you, don't measure the battle only by what your eyes can see. Remember David. Remember the stone. Remember the valley. Remember the God who was there before the battle ever began. And when fear tells you, you can't, let faith answer, God can. When the problem says, you're finished, remember that God has not written the final chapter yet. And when your giant looks enormous, lift your eyes higher, because the giant may be big, the valley may be deep, the battle may be frightening, but your God is greater. You don't have to be fearless to move forward. You only need enough faith to take the next step. David walked toward the giant and discovered that the battle was never really about the size of Goliath. It was about the greatness of God. So walk forward, child of God. Your giant does not get the final word. God does. And the God who stood with David is still the God who can stand with you.